So students that love to move. These might be students that constantly get up and down from their chair, that walk around the classroom, going to get things from the other side of the room, who roll around, who bump into things, who bounce on things, hopping around, zooming along corridors, climbing, loving going up in lifts, coming down in lifts. All of those things are students that love to move. You can't miss them. They will be constantly getting some kind of body input or movement input to help them to learn, to help them. That's what their body needs. So all of these characteristics relate to their body awareness. So the feedback that they're getting from their joints and their muscles, they need that extra movement in order to be able to focus. For some people, you might notice that they do it before they start learning. Other students might do it partway through to help them. It's their way of self-regulating to help them to then be able to come back to work and carry on doing what they're doing. We might see it as a distraction, but actually it can be an incredibly supportive sensory strategy for a student to use. So lots of proprioceptive input, so they're getting lots of feedback from their legs, from their arms, from their body, from their stomach, when they're moving around, when they're doing these things. When they're zooming along the corridor, they're getting lots of vestibular input as well, so lots of movement sensations, as well as the visual input as well. For other people that are moving, let's think about some of the other senses it could be related to. Someone might be moving because of the auditory sensitivity. So if they're hypersensitive to auditory input, maybe they're moving to try and remove themselves from that sound. Smell, if someone's hypersensitive to smell, maybe they're moving away from a smell. But in exactly the same way, if they're hyposensitive and they're seeking out smell, maybe they're zooming and walking and running around to get as many different kind of smell sensations that they can, because that's what their body needs. And for other people, it might be visual. So when we're moving around, we're getting loads of visual input. So if someone's hyposensitive to visual information, they may need that extra movement while they're learning to be able to come back and focus. So especially if we're doing activities where we're seated and maybe we're just looking at a book, we're looking at pictures, we're looking at something that's quite static. For people that need that visual and vestibular input, that getting up and moving around is what's going to give them enough to then be able to focus. So these movement observations, the movement that we're seeing a student doing, is what their body needs. So it's important that we're able to put it into their daily routine. So think about heavy work, think about the activities they can do, whether it's helping you out in the classroom before they get in and sit down to work. So can they carry some books for you? Can they push something for you? Can they go and take something to another teacher for you? Just so then they've got that little bit of extra movement before they go in and sit in the classroom. Other people might benefit from having something weighted, so when they're in college you might notice that they like to keep their bag on their lap. That bag on their lap's giving them that body awareness. That's what they need, that's what they need to be able to feel. Other students like to keep their bags on their back. Let them keep their bags on their back if they're going to be able to work better. Other things are physical activities. So when we're thinking about in school, what can we let students do in order to get that movement sensation in before they sit down and learn? There's other things that we can use. So we can put things on chairs, we can put cushions on chairs, we can put kneelers, so different textured surfaces, so when students move around they're getting that extra input. We can seat them on different kinds of seats. We've got bouncing balls, we've got chairs that move, we can have rocking chairs. Anything that's going to give them that extra movement to help them learn. I've got a student who sits on a waist trimmer, and so while he's learning he just moves round from side to side because that's what his body needs in order for him to be able to focus. It gives him lots of vestibular input but also the visual as he's moving around. Try and make sure that all students get their breaks. Encourage them to move, encourage them to get up, go outside, have a walk, get a drink, whatever stage of learning they are at, whatever level of education. Try and encourage students to change their scenery and to use their bodies to help them to wake themselves up, but also to calm themselves, to alert themselves, to regulate themselves. For students that really need the movement while they're learning, so students that like to jump while they're listening to instructions, students that like to jump while they're doing their maths, if you're trying to engage them in an activity that's seated, try vibration. You can get some really good massaging cushions, pop it behind them, pop it underneath their feet. That vibration's going to give them so much input really quickly. Their body's getting that movement sensation. Other things you can try are, I use hairbands, so elasticated hairbands, pop them around the two front chair legs, and it's a feet fidget, so it's something that they can either bounce their feet down on or they can kick forwards and backwards, and it gives them that activity which their body's needing, so that movement sensation.